Hello there dear YouTubers, my name is King1993 and today I will try my best to explain to you guys why Razor is a beginner's option at the moment, and when it comes to higher damage dealing, Razor is not considered as the best one anymore. Okay, so in this video I'll try my best to give him all of the great artifact set recommendation and let's see the weapon recommendation to make sure that you guys actually understand whether you want to invest in this character or not. Okay, so without further ado, let's get started. Okay, so first of all, let's start with the introduction of Razor. Who is Razor? Razor is basically one of the residents of Mondstadt who grew up in a family of wolves, and the wolves which he lives with doesn't actually hurt other people, but there is a faction of bad wolves in the game which are called the Dark Wolves. The Dark Wolves are the one who are basically the enemies of Razor. Okay, so that is one thing. Another thing about Razor, he is in case if you are wondering about his how he control his electro power. So basically speaking, whichever electro power or vision he has, I do not know how he got it, but at least he was trained by Lisa, the librarian. Okay, so as a result he is now capable of using his elemental power a lot more efficiently in battle. Okay, so that is his background. Now let's stop there. Okay, now first of all, let's talk about his talent. Now the talent of his is made up in such a way that normal attack is considered normal, but this claw and thunder is basically like energy recharge battery. Okay, so it will recharge his elemental burst in the shortest manner possible. Not only that, whenever he uses this lightning fang, his energy elemental skill can get also resets. Okay, and basically after it gets resets, if you were to use this claw and thunder in this lightning fang mode, it will do even more damage, and not only that, he will also gain energy recharge from it as well. Okay, now this is called awakening and this is called hunger. Basically speaking, these two are also made in such a way that whenever you use the lightning fang, okay, it will reset the claw and thunder, as I've said. And not only that, this awakening will also lower his claw and thunder cooldown. Okay, and this hunger is basically like when he is lower than 50% of energy recharge. Okay, the energy recharge percentage is going to be increased by 30%. So obviously from that point of perspective, he is basically made in such a way that you will be able to use his elemental burst in a very short manner possible. Okay, and when it comes to this last one, which is called Woven Spirit, it basically increases the party members stamina. Basically speaking, now you will be able to get up to 20% more distance coverage, okay, by using uh razor on your party. So that is definitely a good thing at the beginning part of your game. Now the question is whether can you get him at the beginning part of your game or not. That is a different topic. Okay, now I'm gonna show you basically how his elemental skill and his elemental burst work. Okay, first of all, let's use Noel to actually shield up, because I have not equipped it razor with anything good anyway. So as you go towards the enemy and use elemental skill, it will create these elemental particles, and once he absorbs it, it will create a sigil. And once the sigil has been created, it will create more elemental particles, and the last one is this. So now there are total 3 sigils. So basically right now what is happening is you will be able to gain a large quantity of elemental recharge. So once all of the 3 sigils has been activated, he can now activate his elemental recharge to the point that it will take a very short period of time to actually get fully recharged. And once that happens, you can now see that his energy level has been 100% now. This is the long press. The long press will be able to do even more damage than the short press. Okay, that is basically what his talent says, that when you use his claw and thunder, there is this short press and there is this long press. Okay, the short press will do a short amount of damage and the long press will do more damage, okay. But the thing is, only the short press, okay, will give him more energy recharge than the long press, so remember that. And now it is time for the lightning fang. Now for this lightning fang, what it does is basically gives him more electro resistance bonus. Basically speaking, if there are any other type of electro users, or let's say electro enemy on the enemy team, at least it will not affect Razor for a long period of time. And it has a duration of 15 seconds and a cooldown of 20 seconds, okay. And the energy cost is about 80. So let me show you. So not only is he doing normal attack, but besides normal attack, he is also doing his special attack as well. Now when it comes to the DPS, there is a different topic, okay. Now when it comes to DPS, there is a different topic which I'll be talking about it right now. Okay, now let's talk about something about the tier list. And to understand that not every website are actually good at making tier lists. Many websites are just bogus, whereas some websites actually provide a large quantity of information to make all of your confusion goes away, okay. From that point of perspective, there is a certain website called game8.co where it basically shows you the best way to actually build a character. Now here is the thing, Beidou, both you and I know that she is actually very useful, but the thing is, how is she useful? Well, let's say if you wanted to explode or electro charge damage, something like that, then obviously Beidou's elemental burst is gonna be more useful than Razor's. And why is that? Because Razor is considered as a B class character when it comes to DPS, and Beidou is considered as a C class character in the DPS. But when it comes to the elemental burst, okay, and doing sub DPS amount of damage on the enemy, then obviously Beidou is actually better than Razor, okay. So from that point of perspective, using Razor versus Beidou is not actually a good type of recommendation, because it depends on how you actually use those character. If you use Beidou as a DPS, obviously her damage output is gonna be lower than Razor's, but if you use Beidou as a sub DPS, then obviously she is gonna be more useful than Razor. Because at the end of the day, this game is not about how you use one single character, rather how you use a character with the help of other sub DPS or support character in the game, okay. From that point of perspective, Razor is actually a beginner's option. So from that perspective, if you guys still want to invest on Razor, it is actually up to you, because there are other factors in the game which actually are hidden inside, but many people actually do not know. Now the thing about that is, this game is more of a gender attraction based game. Basically speaking, I like female characters in this game, which is why I try to build the female characters in this game instead of Razor, because Razor is considered as a boy, which is why I'm not interested in Razor at all. That is point number one. And point number two is, from the DPS point of perspective, he isn't that good. And another thing is, eventually in 2.5 maybe, the character called Raiden Shogun is coming, and Raiden Shogun from the point of DPS is an S rank DPS damage healer, and when it comes to sub DPS, she is also considered as a double S rank character at C6, okay. So basically from that point of perspective, I would rather use Raiden Shogun instead of Razor, because Raiden Shogun is worth investing. That is point number one. And point number two is, Raiden Shogun can be used both as a DPS and a sub DPS, whereas Razor can only be used as a DPS. Now this is, remember, my point of view, okay. If you think that your point of view matches with my point of view, then obviously investing on Razor is not a good option. Okay, now let's talk about his Constellation. Now when it comes to Constellation, I will not be talking about these 5 or these 3 and 5, because they are basically level upgrade, nothing else, okay. Now let's talk about this one. The C1's Constellation basically gives him more damage output just by absorbing energy recharge, okay. This is called suppression. Now suppression is basically when you have this, and when the enemy's HP is lower than 30%, he will gain 10% more crit rate, okay. Now this one is called bite. This bite is basically when you use claw and thunder, the elemental skill, opponent's defense gets lower by 15% for 7 seconds. Okay, and finally this last one is basically when you use the elemental burst, this elemental burst will cause 100% of electro damage dealing. Okay, so nothing important here. Okay, so that is basically how his six constellation is explained in a shortest manner possible. Okay, so now let's talk about the group. Okay, like which group is the gonna be the best option for Razor at the beginning part of your gameplay. Now I have made actually two group here. This, let's say group 2 and this is group 1. So let's talk about this. This is also called experimental. I just written here that don't pay too much attention to it. So anyway, so when you use Razor, obviously using elemental reaction is gonna be better than no elemental reaction at all. After all, this game is more about elemental reaction rather than individual character performance only. Okay, so if you are thinking of getting free characters, obviously Barbara, Shanglin and Kaya are basically the free characters in this game. So from that point of perspective, if you have Barbara using her elemental skill, using Shanglin for her elemental burst and using Kaya for his elemental burst as well, basically what will happen is you will be able to do both explode, electro conduct and super conduct, all three at the same time. Okay, and let's say if you want to do more something like more than higher amount of damage dealing, then from that point of perspective, obviously getting, let's say, okay, this one is a bit underwhelming. Let me change it to Bennett. Where is Bennett? Sometimes my eyes cannot see it for some reason. Okay, now in case if you want to get, let's say, even higher amount of damage dealing from Razor, obviously you must need to use characters that are capable of boosting attack percentage. Okay, so from that point of perspective, if you have the following characters such as Diona, Shinkyu or Bennett, they are basically like damage buffer. Okay, so if you use this damage buffer, obviously they are going to be more useful than this team. So when it comes to the team building, obviously at the beginning part, this is the only option you are gonna have. Okay, and this one is also a healer, so from that point of perspective, at least you will have continuous healing. And when it comes to this one, obviously there is also another healer because Diona is a healer as well as a cryo user, so you will get super conduct from here, and from electro charge is basically from Shinkyu, and explode from Bennett. So from all of these point of perspective, this is the only two group which I can highly suggest for Razor if you want to use Razor at his full performance. Okay, but also at the same time, do understand just by having higher damage multiplier is not a good thing, because if the enemy attacks you, okay, what will happen is whatever you are building up is gonna eventually go away. So eventually you have to change one of them. Okay, now if you want to change something, you must not remove the healer. The thing that you want to change is basically the one which will gonna be least useful. Okay, for example, Shinkyu, even though he provides a large quantity of damage buffer, even after that I highly suggest that you remove this Shinkyu with, let's say, this one. Okay, now why is that? Because Noel is basically a 4-star version of Zhongli. Okay, so from that point of perspective, having Noel in this category, okay, for example, let's remove this one and put Noel here. Okay, then basically what will happen is at least the enemies will freeze. Okay, the enemies will get super contact and supercharge both at the same time, and in this case the enemies will get burned, they will get super contact, but at least Razor will be still having the ability to actually stand up for himself because he is constantly being protected by Noel's shield. Okay, so obviously from that point of perspective, this team here is more logical to me than changing Noel to something else, because trust me, the shield, when it comes to shield related stuff, no one is second best than Noel. Okay, okay, now in case if you're wondering, okay, I have given you two options which are actually a great option, but the question is why are there no 5-star here? Now the thing about, the most important thing about the 5-star characters are that they are not going to be available all of the time. they are basically a limited time thing, and they will appear only for a short period of time of 20 days after every 6 months. So from that point of perspective, getting any of the other 5-star character in this game is basically a nonsensical for a beginners. Okay, so from that point of perspective, obviously getting this team is actually much easier than getting a 5-star team. Okay, because a 5-star character in this game are basically extremely rare. Okay, and even in this case, this team is gonna be a lot better than waiting for a 5-star character, because by the time you are getting your 5-star character, you will be basically upgrading from Razor to other characters in the game. Okay. Okay, now let me give you a demonstration of how this team will actually work. Okay, so in order to do that, let's go to this place and let me show it to you. I'm not gonna kill off the enemy because I need to do some other demonstration as well. So first of all, as you go towards the enemy, the first thing you want it to do is to activate the shield. Once you activate the shield, use elemental skill, and then use ultimate, and then use Razor's ability. Then eventually, that is basically how you are gonna do a large quantity of damage on the enemy. So this is basically how you are gonna be using Razor. Okay, by having this proper team, and as I have already said, you will be having electro charge, electro conduct, and some particles which will float on the ground after getting hit by Noel's attack, which will give you more shield. Okay, and that is basically how you are gonna be using Razor on a continuous basis. Okay, now if you guys are wondering, then what is the best weapon, okay, for Razor? Now the best weapon for Razor is actually the Wolf Gravestone. Now the problem with the Wolf Gravestone is it is not going to be available for a long period of time, and even if it does is available, the only problem is the only place you can get this Wolf Gravestone from is from this wishes place and from this weapon banner. Now this weapon banner is a crack. Okay, basically speaking, after spending about, let's say, uh 210 pulls, only then you might be able to get it, otherwise there is no possibility of getting it. Okay, like it will cost you about more than 200 to even $300 just to get a 5-star weapon from this banner. So that much of a problematic thing the Wolf Gravestone is. Okay, like even for a whale, getting using this banner is actually a very hard topic. Now when it comes to the second best option, the second best option is basically this battle pass. Okay, now in this battle pass, if you spend about, let's say, $10 or $20, then you will get this weapon which is called the Serpent Spine. Now the thing about Serpent Spine is it is actually a very good option. What do I mean by that? When I say a very good option, basically speaking, this weapon will be much more beneficial with this $10 or $20 rather than spending about 200 amount of dollar just to get the Wolf's Gravestone. Now in case if you are wondering, okay, I am a free to play player, then what is my only option? Now if you are a free to play player, the only option which you are gonna have is this prototype archive. Now this prototype archive, you are gonna get billet, and you can change this billet into this prototype archive. So from that point of perspective, getting this prototype archive is the only best option which you are gonna have as a free to play player. So from that point of perspective, this is actually the best option which is going to be available for you. Okay, now in case if you're wondering, then what about the artifact set? Now the thing is, I do not care what any other website says, to understand that all of the artifact set are basically free to get. If all of the artifact set are basically free to get, then the question is, why are you not getting it in the following manner? What many other websites will tell you, okay, use this, use that, use this and that, etc. No, don't do that. Instead, just do the following thing. Now let me show you. This is a chart which was made in game8.co. If you go to the website called game8.co and choose best weapon and artifact set for Razor, it will basically show you what are the main stat and the substat of an artifact set is gonna be like. Okay, now what is the best artifact set for Razor? Now if you want to use Razor at his max potential, then obviously you must need to use Razor's elemental skill. Okay, and because of that thing, the only thing is that you must need to concentrate on is to make sure that Razor has the highest amount of attack percentage. Okay, now first of all, to understand that, you must need to get the 4 pieces of the gladiators finale. That is point number 1, because it will increase attack, and whichever the wielder is, if they are sword, claymore or polar user, their attack is gonna be further increased by 35%. So obviously the total attack percentage is gonna be increased by 53%. Okay, that is point number 1. Now point number 2 is, when it comes to the primary stats and the secondary stats, which is the substats, these are the following things that you must need to get. Okay, now even though it is written here, let me still tell it to you guys, so that you will be able to know what you guys should actually be getting. Okay, you must need to get this attack percentage, then you must need to get this attack percentage again, and this third one, you must need to get this critical damage. Okay, now if you get attack and critical damage, obviously the overall the damage percentage for Razor is going to be a lot higher. And if you are planning on getting any of the search stats, obviously getting more critical rate and critical damage is going to be far better than getting this attack percentage. Okay, so you must need to be concentrating on the subset in the critical rate and the critical damage. And when it comes to the main stats, you must need to give him attack percentage and critical damage. Okay, now I am at the final part of the video, where basically I'm gonna give you my conclusion regarding Razor, of whether you should be investing on him or not. Okay, first of all, here my conclusion. The thing is, I'm not gonna be using Razor. Why is that? Because I'll be rather using riding Shogun Ball, which is a main DPS and a sub DPS character in the game. That is point number 1. And also from the gender point of perspective, attraction point of perspective, obviously Razor is not for me. That the riding Shogun Ball is that one which I would prefer. Okay, that is point number 2. Now point number 3 is, when it comes to you guys, okay, it depends on you whether you want to use Razor or not. But at the end, to understand that by the time you have any 5-star character in your team, Razor is gonna be an out of option. So if you invest Razor at the beginning part of your game, it is understandable. But if you are planning on using Razor at the end part of your game, well, that is up to you. It is not my position or not my capability to actually judge which character you are gonna be liking or not. Okay, so that is basically the conclusion of this video. So if you guys find this video very interesting, then please give a like and subscribe, and click the bell notification icon to get more of this type of topic on a regular basis. Thank you, and see you again next time.